Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. For those of you that are new to the channel, I'm Johnny Mac, and for those of you that are returning subscribers, welcome back to another New World video. Today is a very special treat. Today marks the very first build video that I'm releasing on the channel, and I do believe that you guys are really going to enjoy this one. I cannot stress enough how awesome this build has been for me. It has been a labor of love over the past 2 weeks, and that is exactly why I really haven't released anything the past couple weeks, because I have been working extra hard on this build, and I lovingly call it the Cursed Battle Mage. So let's go ahead and get on into the build. So the first thing that we're going to go over is we're going to go over our Ice Gauntlet and the perks that we need to make this extra special, extra spicy, right? So the first thing is we are going to be looking for Deadly Frost. This one on my server has been extremely hard to find, but I was really lucky and I picked this Ice Gauntlet up for 3k on the trading post. And I honestly feel like it was probably supposed to be 30k, and I think that was an accident. But my game, right? So Deadly Frost. When the Frigid Showers upgrade is active, Ice Showers Frostbite debuff will deal 8% weapon damage per second to affected enemies. This is huge, right? And we'll actually explain why later. And in this Ice Gauntlet, I have a diamond in which 15% to outgoing damage when my health is full. That's very important because typically whenever I engage, especially in OPR, I start at distance first, and I use my Ice Gauntlet as a bruising aspect to this build, okay? Now, to complement our Ice Gauntlet build portion of this, we need absolutely unending thaw. Frost effects remain on enemies for 2 seconds after exiting Ice Storm. This is also a big aspect of the build, and it is uncompromising. Cannot function without this. This is huge because, once again, this largely affects our DPS later, okay? Now let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes. In this, I have a Malachite, which gives 1.9% elemental and 0.63% physical damage absorption. And also I have in all my other pieces Onyx, mainly because I have a Void Bent Breastplate, which was gifted to me. I cannot stress enough, I asked the individual who gifted it to me if I can give them a shout out on the video, but they wish to remain anonymous. So you know who you are. You're absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. And it has helped out a lot. As you can see, this provides a very high rating of elemental resistance. So with my other remaining stones, I went with Onyx to help offset and give me more physical resistances. Now with this one, I went with Constitution, and we are going to be focusing on 3 primary attributes. Intelligence is number 1, Focus is number 2, and Constitution is number 3. So in this one, we have Constitution. Next, now we're going to be getting into the Void Gauntlet aspect of our perks. And all these perks are extremely important. They are must-haves. Putrefying Scream. On successful hit, Petrifying Scream inflicts disease, reducing the target's healing by 28% for 10 seconds. That is absolutely massive. So for 10 seconds, any healing that target is trying to do is going to be 28% less effective. That is huge. Absolutely huge. Next, Nullifying Oblivion. This is a very powerful perk. On activation, Oblivion removes limited duration buffs from enemies within its radius. This includes Grit and also the second life for the Hatchet users. And let me tell you, it's quite funny whenever a Hatchet user gets their second life, you pop that and then you pop them one time and they die. it makes them pretty salty. Next on my boots, I have Ferocious Blade. While below 50% health, successful Void Blade hits heal self for 29% of the damage done. This is also very integral to the build, extremely important, cannot be substituted, and it cannot be omitted. Now, what's interesting is, all these perks, they don't have to go on any set piece. Just as long as you have the perks in your build, that's all that matters. Now, obviously, Void Bent, you know, it gives you resilient, critical hits deal 4.8% less damage. Any piece that you can have resilient in, as long as you have these main perks, I'll actually throw them up on the screen here. As long as you have these main perks and you can actually get resilient on them with those main perks, absolutely do so, because any type of, you know, less critical damage that you can take is absolutely amazing. Next, this for my amulet, I just have one that of course has intelligence. Amulets with intelligence have been really hard to find on my server, but I have the health perk, which gives 9.3% more maximum health, so you can't go wrong there. The other one, now this one is also really important on the ring. Leeching, you gain 5% of your damage as health. Does not trigger off persistent damage or dot effects. This is an absolute must, because life stealing is going to keep you alive, and keeping alive is the name of the game. If you're dead, you're doing 0 DPS, right? Next, also very important, because this allows you to not have to spec into dex, because you can get 50 dex to get 5% extra. Last time I checked, 11% is more than 5%. So keen awareness, that'll get you 11% more critical chance. And I'm using ill-gotten gain, 20 constitution. Biggest thing here is refreshing toast. Potions cool down 25% faster. Duplicating toast, when you drink a potion, 12% chance to it doesn't consume that potion, right? Regenerate, you gain 0.43% of health every second. This is a good one. There's many guides online as to how to get this. You just have to kill an NPC over and over and over. It took me about 2 hours to get it, but I finally got it. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Void Gauntlet. Now I'm using the Nothingness, which is the 600 gear score legendary. Now granted, not everybody is going to have this available to them, and I will show a substitute that would be very good in this build as well. And as a matter of fact, the other Void Gauntlet that I'm going to show you, which is an Orichalcum one, was actually the primary Void Gauntlet that I was building this around, but since I was able to get the Nothingness, this works a lot better. The Nothingness provides life stealing. You gain 5% of your damage as health, does not trigger off persistent damage or dot effects. So once again, this is 5% of life stealing here. And then I get leeching, which is another 5% of my damage. So that's an extra 10%. On top of the fact that once I hit below 50, where is it at? When I'm below 50, Ferocious Blade will give me 29%. So that's 39% of my damage done that will be returned to me as health when I'm below 50%. That's huge, right? Huge. Next, it has Enchanted, which light and heavy attacks deal 9.5% more damage. So, those perks are absolutely amazing. Now, in the Void Gauntlet, I am using the Opal. Why I use the Opal is because my damage is increased by 15% while my stamina is not full. Now with this build, when you got your Void Blade out, you're actually dashing around a lot to stick to the enemy that you're chasing down, because typically they're going to be trying to run away or dodge, whatever it is they might be doing. So your stamina is hardly ever going to be full. So that's just an extra 15% passive damage boost. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Cannot stress that enough. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the attributes. Now, very important thing that I might state here is that your attributes are going to be various combination based off of what you can find in your gear and also with your food. Now I'm building around the 40 constitution food, so I will go over the important bubbles that you must hit. You absolutely must hit these bubbles. You must hit 250 intelligence, and you also must hit 100 constitution. Now, the reason why I say you must hit 100 constitution is because it increases your max health by 10% of your physical armor. This is really nice because my health normally, without the food buff, I have a food buff on right now, my health is actually at like 8,000 something. So with the food, it boosts my health to a little over 10k, which is very important. Now, one very important aspect of the Void Gauntlet, because the Void Gauntlet is in fact our main weapon for this build, is some people might ask, well, why don't you just spec into full intelligence so that way you can boost the damage of the Ice Gauntlet? Well, number one, the Ice Gauntlet is not our primary weapon. Next, we need to achieve a certain balance. So if you see here, I'm at 1020 for the Void Gauntlet damage and 914 for the Ice Gauntlet damage. Now, my buddy Mordecai, big shout out to him, he actually turned me on to the video which thoroughly explained the difference between a dual aspect weapon and a singular aspect weapon. Now, what I mean by that is the Void Gauntlet actually scales off of intelligence and focus both, versus the Ice Gauntlet, which only scales off of intelligence. Now, what's interesting about that is, let's go ahead and respec here real quick, and I will show you. So if I spec into, let me get my Constitution up where it's supposed to be, that way I have all available points. So if I spec fully into intelligence, just dump everything into intelligence, this is what I'm talking about. So I have nothing in focus other than just what my passive stats, right? We have 1050 Ice Gauntlet, but we've got 983. So we have flipped our damage numbers, right? And unfortunately, with that being said, it doesn't really help us a whole lot, in my opinion, because we're not really using Ice Gauntlet as our main damage source. This is actually going to gimp our self-healing. So with that being said, you can see that because the Void Gauntlet is a dual aspect weapon, it scales better if you actually spec into both intelligence and focus. You can see it changing right there before your eyes. So with that balance, we actually have a more balanced build. We're going to be doing really good damage with our Void Gauntlet, and we're going to be doing very respectable damage with our Ice Gauntlet. And like I said, we're actually using our Ice Gauntlet as a bruising aspect of this build. It's not our main damage source, although it is going to do a lot of damage. It's going to do a lot of damage, but we don't have to worry so much about that. Void Gauntlet is where we're getting the bulk of our damage from, especially with those close-up encounters. Okay? So, next, let's go over our skills. Let's go ahead and look at the Void Gauntlet skills. Void Gauntlet, I just basically went ham. Now, we might be able to, you know, switch a couple things around, but in all honesty, I just got everything in this tree. Okay? Literally just went ham, got absolutely everything in that tree. We could probably switch a few things around, but for the most part, mana costs are reduced by 20% while above, you know, mana. Cooldowns are reduced by 10% per second while performing Harvest Essence. You know, there's a couple things that we can do, but I just went ahead and just spec'd everything into this tree. Okay. Now, what is very interesting is Void Blade. With everything that I have baked into this build, Void Blade is almost up 100% of the time. Okay. So that makes it very, very nice. So once again, we're taking Oblivion, full spec. We're taking Void Blade, full spec. And of course, Petrifying Scream, full spec. Now, where the complexity of the build comes in is actually, amazingly enough, not in the Void Blade, but in the Ice Gauntlet. The Ice Gauntlet is where it actually gets really nitpicky. Okay? Now, you could probably go two different ways. And the way I like to play, because I play a lot of OPR, and I like to be up close and personal, is I like to take full Ice Pylon. The reason why is because of this. Double Ice Pylon's health and extends Ice Pylon's frosted area radius to 5 meters. Standing in this frosted area doubles Quick Frost and Empowered Frost bonuses. Now, Empowered Frost. Now, here's Critical Frost. This one, very important. Increase critical chance by 15% when hitting an enemy in a frosted area or when hitting an enemy with Frostbite. Now, you get Frostbite from Ice Storm. And Ice Storm also gives you a frosted area. So you're getting 15% critical chance on top of that, right? Heavy Freeze. Heavy attacks will root a target if they are standing in an Ice Storm and have Frostbite. Root lasts for 1 second and has a 4-second cooldown. So if you can toss an Ice Storm out, you scream at them, it roots them, right? And then you can also perform a heavy attack if you really wanted to. That also roots them. Energized Critical. This is another very important one. Increase critical damage of Ice Gauntlet abilities by 10% while stamina is full. Okay. Where is Defiant Freeze? I like this one a lot. Casting an Ice Gauntlet ability creates an ice-hardened layer, granting 20% Fortify for 2 seconds. I really enjoy this one because I feel it synergizes very well with Ice Shower. Ice Shower, summon a shower, of ice that creates a frosted area approximately 1 meter, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you fully spec into it, Frostbite applies Rend to target, reducing their defense by 10%. Now, if you remember correctly, that goes with this Deadly Frost. When the Frigid Showers upgrade is active, Ice Shower's Frostbite debuff will deal 8% weapon damage per second to affected enemies. So I'm already causing a bleed effect on them anyway, right? So now we've just synergized with the Deadly Frost. We've also synergized with Unending Thaw. So lots and lots and lots of synergy there, guys. Lots and lots of synergy. Okay. So that's it. Now, the other way that you could probably spec would be to fully spec into Ultimate Chill. Your Ice Gauntlet abilities, chill targets, increasing ice damage dealt to target by 25% for 3 seconds. Now, you could spec into that way if you feel that you're going to actually use the Ice Gauntlet more than you are the Void Blade, that maybe you prefer to, play at a distance. That's entirely your choice. But I really like doing the Ice Pylon because it's a frosted area, and if you get into the nitty-gritty of things, especially if you're an OPR and you're trying to take those control points, you lay this down. It also applies to your teammates because it has to do with the enemy standing in that frosted area. Not you, but the enemy. If the enemy is standing in that frosted area, they're automatically putting themselves at risk of an extra 15% critical chance aspect. So that is absolutely massive. So that's it, guys. That is the Cursed Mage build, and I highly urge you all to try it. It is a complicated build, but once you actually get used to playing it, I think that you will have an incredibly fun time. And I appreciate you all watching, and let me know what you think about the build down below. If you are not currently subscribed, don't feel afraid to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit a like on this video if you like this build. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the new world.